Hello and welcome back to the Wine Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Heather Danitz, and today I'm joined by Barbara Gorder, who is the managing partner of Direct-to-Consumer Wine Symposium, which, in my own personal opinion, is one of the best educational wine conferences in the world. As a fundraiser for Free the Grapes, the symposium features some really amazing speakers, some practical workshops, as well as a trade show, all focused on helping wineries grow through DTC marketing channels. Hi, Barbara. How are you doing today?
Hi, Heather. Nice to see you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to talk with you. We've been in cahoots for a little while now. You are the one who invited me to join the steering committee for the 2025 symposium after I could not shut up during the 2024 symposium. So I appreciate
Articulation is so
you.
important.
Awesome. So today we're going to be talking about the DTC Wine Symposium. Before we kind of launch into all of it, I would love for you to introduce yourself, kind of give a brief rundown who you are, what you do, all the things. And then for those who've never attended this event before, kind of describe DTC Wine Symposium and like what makes it different from other wine conferences.
I'm Barbara Gorder. I live up on Sonoma Mountain in Sonoma County, and I run a marketing consulting firm called Undisclosed Location. I've lived in Sonoma County for about 15 years. Prior to that, I was in Chicago for a very long time working for large agencies. So I came to the wine world about 15 years ago, and that was the first time I went to the DTC Wine Conference, which was sort of networking, getting inside the business, meeting people. And so for a very long time, I was a volunteer. And now I'm running it with my partner, Brian Baker. And we're located in Monterey, California in this January. And we're very excited. It's our second year in Monterey, which everybody loves being in Monterey because it's a beautiful place, great place to wine and food scene, the aquarium. We're going to be doing an event at the aquarium. And the conference is a really special place because we try and do things a bit differently than many other wine conferences. We are an educational organization first. Our trade show is important to us, but we rehearse every speaker that comes on stage. We are particular. We try and find something for everyone. We have people who come from 1,000 case wineries all the way up to the Jackson family or the Gallo family organization. So we work with marketers across the spectrum to bring programming to them. And I think that the conference has changed a lot over the years. We've grown. We've always had people from outside of the wine world to bring direct to consumer knowledge in, but I think that we've become more diverse. We have representation. I think last year we had from 16 or 17 states and 3 or 4 foreign countries. So it's not just for California, although that is our strongest contingent. It's for everyone. And I think that it's for everyone from the content perspective, from a representation perspective. We think bringing everybody together in order to support Free the Grapes, which is what the conference is a 501(c), and it benefits that. And Free the Grapes basically helps family wineries be able to distribute throughout the United States. We started with 17 states. Now we're in 47. But that job is never over because we have to continue to go to legislatures like Delaware and New Jersey and Mississippi and places that are not necessarily easy because consumer choice is the point. And so it's a great show. If you've never been there, it's worth coming, if nothing else, because I think it's the best networking on the West Coast. I mean, we
Yeah.
have great representation, and I think the learning happens in the workshops and the keynotes, but it also happens outside conversations with colleagues. And I think that's what makes it unique. This year, we've got 3 fantastic keynoters. Elaine Schuken-Brown is coming to talk about the future of wine inside a chaotic world, and she's going to talk about that. We've got Louis Montiutis, who's coming from New York City. He's a experienced direct-to-consumer expert from fashion, pet care, snacks, and he's going to be talking about that. And then we've got Dostoevsky's, who's from home ground here in Sonoma County, and she's going to talk about sort of connecting the passion of food and wine and what people who are making and growing food can connect to various and sundry winemakers. So, and she's a great cheerleader, and she's good on television, so she'll be fantastic at the conference. So
Yeah.
we're also going to be bringing some things that are going to be an event at the aquarium. We've
Mhm.
got a partnership with the San Lucia Highlands Vintners, and we're going to be thank you to Gary Franciosi for Brewer Vineyards is actually hosting that for us, and we're gonna have 8 different wineries pouring prior to the conference, and then we're also gonna have a bring your own AVA event. That'll be fun, and, hoping for a golf scramble, 9-hole golf scramble.
Oh, fun. Oh
Yeah,
my
so
gosh. Yeah, even more
gotta raise
gatherings this
some
year.
funds. So we've been working hard, and I'm very thankful that Free the Grapes has given Brian and I the opportunity to work on this. We've changed up the conference. The conference now has, I think we'll have 750 people there.
Yeah.
And so it's really expanded from the days when it was held in Santa Rosa and in Napa Valley to have all of those different people. And I think that we will be having a good time. So it's worth your while to come and hang out, if nothing else, to meet your colleagues. But it's also important to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I really love that you've moved it to Monterey as well. Being based on the Central Coast myself, it's always such a jaunt for me, even though it's like for me it's only about a 5-hour drive to get up to, to Concord where it was in 2023, and I think it was there for at least a few years, and as well as
Evan.
like, to get to Napa and Sonoma. And I feel like a lot of conferences are often, they often start in Napa and Sonoma and Santa Rosa areas and kind of like Northern Bay area, because of course that's, the kind of main hub for California wine. But it always makes it like a little less accessible for those of us who are a little further down the coast, and maybe want to kind of try and explore. But it's also really, really nice, as you mentioned, to have it in Monterey as wine country. Because it's like I've experienced some Monterey wines, but getting to experience it as a community is really, really special. So I'm so glad that it's moved. Are there any plans? I know that we've talked about like how maybe you'll stay in Monterey for a little while. Are there any plans to kind of move it around after Monterey?
It's possible. I mean, this will
Mhm.
be our second year in Monterey. I would anticipate that we would be there for at least another year. Would we move it
Mhm.
somewhere else? Possibly. I think everybody likes, as you said, being in wine country is nice
Mhm.
because there's an emphasis on food and wine as opposed to when we were in Concord, the boxed wine and they closed the
Mhm.
restaurant after COVID and never reopened it. So that was
Yeah.
people weren't excited about that. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think so it's like having those events with a focus on food and wine and with that being part of the heart of the matter, I think is where the conference has always been at.
Yeah, yeah, I really like that. What inspired that venue change to begin with?
Honestly, we got a lot of feedback from people who are attendees because we get people who come every year or have come for a number of years, or maybe they come for 2 or 3 years and skip a year and then they come back or they move jobs, et cetera, et cetera. And I think, um, Concord was very central and it was a very good value because we are a 501(c)(3), so there's a focus on budget. I
Mhm.
think Monterey has been wildly popular. So
Yes. Oh, yeah.
yeah, so, it's just figuring out so it's like now I feel like we are so much better this year in terms of doing that, and I'll say the other thing is that since Brian and I have come to lead the conference, I think we have been saying this is officially a 12-month-a-year conference. I mean,
Yeah.
it didn't used to be. Back in the day, we would do we always did the conference in January, but we sort of would restart in, like, April.
Mhm.
We can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
We've come on to do sponsorship, you know, and content development. So we're at the point where all of our largest sponsorships are already sold out. We still have
Mhm.
some opportunities, and our content, I will be publishing all the content next week,
Ooh,
which
that's so
is
exciting.
very exciting. So that's important because that's a ton of work to do. And
Mhm.
oftentimes what happened in previous years is all that got pushed into the holiday season. And so
Yeah.
committee standpoint, that wasn't super popular to be spending the Christmas,
Yeah.
doing rehearsals and things like that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I love that. Yeah, I mean, I remember being a speaker in 2023. I was a moderator for a panel, And yeah, and like having it's like the harvest is over and we're kind of starting to take a breath, but we're still kind of in the thick of the holiday madness and the rush. And it was trying to nail down a day that we could all meet and do our rehearsal was just it was so it was challenging. So yeah,
Yeah.
so I like that
Yeah,
we're kind
the
of
wine
being a little
industry
more proactive.
usually starts to people schedules from, like, the last week in August through October because of harvest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really
Yeah.
busy, so that and then you straight into the holidays.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Spring and summer end up being a lot better,
Mm-hmm.
creating sessions and putting people together, and we did a lot more in terms of content development this year with our entire steering committee, in terms
Mm-hmm.
of making it more democratic and having people say, "Well, I think about this," and I think that that's worked really well because
Mm-hmm.
we've had a lot more representation from different groups and different people who have
Yeah.
never come before. I think it's also moving the conference to Monterey has also been part of shaking it up and wanting to do new things in terms of the
Mm-hmm.
content. I think it's been a brain refresher.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of content, actually, I was going to ask this a little bit later down here, but I feel like it's the perfect segue into that. What are some workshops that you can share with us that you're particularly excited about in 2026?
We have one that we've never done a subject on referral programs.
Oh.
So that's something that I think will be exciting. And there's different kinds of referral programs, ones that are very formal in terms of like Wine Atlas. You're seeing that come out with
Mm-hmm.
Jason Haas and Blenheim and I think 8 different people from 8 different wine regions. But people are also coming together locally in terms of trading off in terms of Sonoma County. And so we're going to be doing that. We're going to sort of do beyond the tasting room, meeting consumers where they are. So how you can basically take programs on the road. And I think
Cool.
that'll be exciting. Mike Siska's coming out from Chicago and he's going to talk to us about my pet peeve recently is just people keep talking about formal demographics and I want people to in the wine business to think bigger. So
Mm-hmm.
how to move beyond let's talk about Gen Z or you know, people don't work that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
people would like to do that way because wineries have access to everyone's birthday. But
Mm-hmm.
the fact is that your tribe and your vibe have more to do no matter what your age. And I think
Yeah.
so we're going to talk about that. And I think that'll be
Yeah.
really important. We're going to do some training in terms of next level training and how people are training frontline employees and how to do that more effectively in a modern way. And then new digital terroir, cultivating wine communities through Reddit and Substack, Discord, podcasts.
Yeah.
And so things that are off the page that aren't Meta or even LinkedIn, and
Yeah.
there's sales opportunities in those places. So that's just a few, but we have basically 35 sessions
Oh my
in a
gosh.
3-day span.
Yeah. How am I going to go to all of them?
Well, it's true. You do have to have a strategy, and this year we're
Yeah.
actually gonna do better than we did last year. We're gonna be signing up in advance for shows, so Huva is our conference app. It's gonna come online October 20th. And so,
Cool.
if you wanna come to the show, you can basically say, "Wow, I'm really interested in doing this. I'm doing this and doing this." So we, as the show runners, can say, "Okay, so this is getting a lot of traction. Let's move this to a bigger room." The other thing that we have in terms of content that I'm super excited to trial this year is boot camps. And we've
Mm.
never really done that. It's generally been people talking about case studies or presentations. We're gonna do 90-minute boot camps and actually teach people with their laptops how to put together a Meta 101 program. I mean, you've never done it? Come on, let's do it. We've got OTT and CTV. So if you want to, for your small winery, if you want to be on streaming TV, which you can easily do, and it's very affordable. People say, "Oh, that's for like the big guys." No, actually, it's not. It's very affordable for people to do that. So we're going to teach people how to do that, and then there'll be some things on email automation. Kelly Mantell, who's an expert in Klaviyo, is going to be talking about that. So the whole boot camp idea is something that we're going to run. This is the first time we're doing it, and we're stoked about.
That's awesome. I love that. I love the boot camp idea because I think that's certainly some feedback that I've given in the past and also some feedback that I know that I've had from some colleagues that I've talked about DTC Wine Symposium is that we wanted even more practical, tangible, tactical things that we can do to really improve? Because I think like a lot of us, we get really, really excited in the moment when we're there and we're really inspired and we're like fired up and we're ready to implement all the things. And then we get back into our winery settings and, the chiller breaks or I don't know, there's like something going on with the plumbing or, whatever, something's happening and somebody calls out a sick and you have to take over their day-to-day duties. So we get lost and we forget that we lose that momentum. So I think being able to have in the moment, we're going to walk you through, let's do this right now. We're going to set this up right now and take advantage of that momentum. That's going to be really so, so beneficial. And that's going to help, I think, carry that forward, that momentum forward into, when those crazy things happen and we get distracted, it'll help us come back to it a lot faster.
I hope
So that's
so.
awesome.
That's the
Yeah.
goal. It's always about listening to smart people talking about case studies. I think there'll always be a role for that, but I think let's
Mhm.
beyond that, let's really teach somebody and have
Yeah.
them take it away. So that's something that we want.
Yeah, yeah, and that's something I try to do at the end of most of my podcast episodes. I try to like ask my guests like, what's one thing that you would have the listener do right now in the next like 5 minutes while they're super inspired and excited to take advantage of whatever we talked about. So I think that this is a much nicer and bigger way to to do that. So I
Right.
love that. That's awesome. So cool. I'm so excited for that. I'm
Sure.
already thinking about it. I'm already getting stoked. So I mean, kind of talking about a little bit about things that we've talked about in the past. I feel like two big topics of conversation in 2024 and 2025 were, as you mentioned, like Gen Z demographic conversations. But it's also AI was like a huge thing that carried over into both conferences. And you sort of talked a little bit about this, but are there any big themes that we can expect from this conference this year?
Yeah, I think last year Karen kind of kicked us off and we talked a lot about some of the headwinds that were happening in the industry. And not that people were unaware of them, but I think that she definitely did that. And I think that this year what we're doing is like it's still chaotic. I mean, tariffs are a thing, the economy and what different maybe some people are drinking less, whatever. The fact of the matter is that we need to be thinking about the future and how are we
Hmm.
addressing these changes? I mean, we're not the first industry to like undergo some kind of shift. And I also think that it's been headed this way for a long time. You could see it with the rise of social media, but now I think people are thinking differently about wine in terms of the mass public.
Hmm.
Wine has always had its own language and that to the good and to the bad. It's the only product I've ever sold that has had its own language. And to some people that's great. And I think there's a certain, learning it is great, but I think that consumers are demanding there's so much competition. And just in
Yeah.
terms of CPG business, right? I mean, at
Hmm.
the end of the day, I see all these like doom spiral comments on LinkedIn, articles that are written in the press. I mean, and the henny penny nature of this is let's stop doing that.
Yeah.
And let's
Yeah.
start thinking about what the future of wine is. So I would like to kickstart the future of wine and have
Hmm.
that be more, how can we work smarter? How can we market smarter? How can we talk to more consumers? And so it's more, for me, this year is about the future. And that's why I say demographics versus psychographics, looking at ways to expand your consumer base, whether that's going to St. Louis for a winemaker dinner or thinking about things that are cross-referenced. Because
Hmm.
I just don't believe, I mean, Gen Z and boomers have more in common than one might think.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
segmented that way, and it's not really accurate. I mean, Gen Z have some particular tendencies, yes. But
Yeah.
let's not just throw the whole marketing plan out with the bathwater. And let's think about if your brand is doing something and telling a differentiated story, which hopefully it is, something you're doing differently that's going to attract people, then let's figure out what that's going to be. And I think that's also so how can people look at consumers more from a 360 standpoint in terms of culture and art and fashion and trend versus we're going to talk about Gen Z now.
Hmm.
I mean, really?
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's not, I will tell you this, having worked across many different industries, yes, that is under consideration. But no, I mean, that's not how people who are selling other stuff do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. I think that so many of us stop at demographics. They consider the generation and maybe income level, but they stop at that. They don't continue to build out this persona that's like, where are they at on their wine journey? Are they beginners, or are they, if you are talking to Gen Z, what like subset of Gen Z are you talking to? Are you talking to somebody who's like maybe has a little bit more advanced knowledge and is really curious and excited about wine? Or are you trying to talk to the people who would prefer to drink seltzers because they're affordable and easy to consume and easy to get and accessible, like all these things? So yeah, so I think that's really important that you're bringing that up, that it's like we need to stop just thinking about their age range
Putting
and
people
their,
into silos is never helpful in the marketing.
yeah.
And then
Hmm.
we're going to do a really fun program with Kelly Cornett this year on the first day from Cork in the Road. She's a podcaster from Atlanta, and she does something down there called Somlympics. So I asked her to take the Somlympics concept and say, let's do this for hospitality. So she's going to do something called Poor Decisions and Ultimate Hospitality Challenge. So, for instance, one segment is, it's 4 teams. So we're going to have from 4 different areas, and she's going to blind people on a wine. And the purpose is, yes, to identify it, but then you have to sell it.
Hmm.
So describe the person to whom you're selling it, and then that person has to sell it to that person. So it's going to
Ooh.
so I think that's part of making people think on the fly, and doing it in a competitive game show fashion, I think should be really
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That'll be really fun. Are you going to be pulling people from the audience, or
Oh, no, we're
you
gonna
have a
prep
panel?
people. So we're just getting down to just finishing up the content. We'll be publishing all the content, if I have my way, a week from today, which will be great, which is September. There'll be all the final
Yeah.
content. And then what I want to do is 4 teams, and I would like to do them from 4 different wine regions. So if you're listening to this, reach out and see. I would love to do one from Napa, one from Michigan,
Yeah.
maybe one from Santa Barbara. I don't know. So
Yeah.
we're definitely looking for people who want to do this, who have game show friendly personalities.
Right. Yeah.
People
That's
who
fun.
get excited and can do it on stage.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's so much fun. I'm excited to. Oh man, yeah. I
Yeah, if
can't
you
wait
could.
to see all the content so I can start
Yeah, yeah,
planning
yeah.
my
So that'll
schedule.
be really fun, and then, it's sort of then there'll be a lightning round, bachelorette party of 10 arrives at 4:45 with no reservations. What do you do?
What do you do?
Lightning round.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I love it. Oh my god. That's so funny. Okay. I'm like already thinking about
But
how
but
I would
it's
answer
but
that.
but I think part of what we're doing is trying to be serious, and I mean, we have Damian
Yeah.
Wilson from the Wine Business Institute. He's a very serious guy. And
Hmm.
he's gonna talk about sales strategy and Pareto's Law. So there's that for people that
Yeah.
wanna go down that rabbit hole, but there's also a really fun game show where you're kind of learning through gamification and
Hmm.
keeping excited about it, because I think
Yeah.
not everybody learns the same way, and not everybody has
Yeah.
the same either business objectives or marketing objectives.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Now, Isis Daniel's gonna be helping us with influencer and podcasters like yourself.
Great.
She's gonna bring herself and her 140,000 TikTok people, and then we're gonna have podcasters. Obviously, winemakers are our key sponsor, but we also are gonna be having multiple podcasters from all over the US. We're gonna have
Yeah.
more than a few influencers. So talking about that, because I got into this conversation with Elaine Chukin Brown when we were talking about what she was going to talk about. And Elaine is someone who she's a highly educated person. She has a PhD. She's wonderful, thinker, thought leader, writer, all these things.
Yeah.
But I mean, Isis Daniel is too, and she's a
Yeah.
communicator, right?
Hmm.
So depending on, as you say, in your wine journey, where are you? Are you at wine enthusiast, or are you somebody casual and starting to appreciate wine for the first time? And
Yeah.
I think the purpose of the conference is to even the playing field. I think marketing in the wine business has sometimes gotten a bad rap. I think
Yeah.
influencers have gotten a bad rap.
Yep.
And that's not okay, because influencers
Yeah.
bring a lot of people to the party, and
Hmm.
we need to bring everybody to this party. And a lot of people don't like that I say that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, They wanna make fun of influencers or they
Mhm.
I know influencers are really hardworking people, and
Yeah.
it's not an easy job. They deal with clients, so we're also one of our boot camps is gonna be on influencers,
Great. I
and
love it.
so bringing that and I know Isis is gonna be talking to you.
Great. Like, looking forward to chatting with her. It's gonna be so good. Yeah, as someone who, like, I don't I don't consider myself an influencer, but I am adjacent to influencers, and I do work with influencers, for my clients. I have often, because a lot of the things that I do are sort of like influencer-esque. So, like, I'm a photographer, and so I'm out, I'll go to wine events, and because I'm a photographer and I like what I do, and I do it as a hobby as well as a job, I'm taking pictures, I'm taking
That's because
videos, and
you
I'm
love it.
yeah, exactly. I enjoy it. It's fun. But I often get mistaken for an influencer, and it's shocking to me. And I don't know why it's shocking. I feel like it shouldn't be, but it's shocking to me how people respond to me before they know that I'm not an influencer, and then after they know. Like, I had like a whole this is a tangent, but I had like a whole situation where I was at uh World of Pinot Noir this year, where I was talking to someone, and I don't know if you've ever been to Waupun before. This big grand tasting they have, and there's 100 wineries in this giant ballroom, and there's, hundreds of people in there, and we're all sort of elbowing and trying to, like, get up to the front to get a taste of wine, and to talk to the winemakers and, like, get some information about the wine that we're enjoying. And so there happened to be a little bit of a lull, and I was talking to this person, this representative for this winery, and I was asking them about it. And then I asked them permission. I was like, "Hey, can I get a video of you pouring the next taste? Can I get a couple photos of you?" And she was like, "Yep, go for it." And I was like, "Great." And so I was like doing that, and I took a step back, and I thought that I had kind of looked behind me, but I didn't. I accidentally stepped on a person's toes, and I turned around and I was like, "I am so sorry. I didn't see you. That's on me." And her response to me, because she thought I was an influencer, was just not very kind. um, well, and I'll leave it at that. But I was like, oh, okay, that's the kind of person that we are. Cool, cool, cool. But it was really, I think, beyond anything else, like, that alone was enlightening to me in how, like, what influencers are dealing with. It's like, you guys are doing good work for helping our, small businesses kind of get the good word out. And there's
100%. These are
yeah.
communications professionals, and I think it's look, I have a couple of thoughts about that. I mean, I do, and Isis and I have talked about a lot about this. I think that this is a industry that there has been a lot of gatekeeping in the past.
Yes.
When I first started working on the conference, 15 it was 95% men. There were very few women, and there certainly weren't anybody who wasn't white. And now we have, like, our load is about 60% women, 40% men. It's really interesting. But we mix it up, and I think that the world of wine has changed dramatically. There are a lot of people who don't like the way it's changed. I mean, look at what happened when, who's the actress? They brought out Aveline.
Oh, is that Kate Hudson?
No, it's Catherine
No.
Powell and Cameron Diaz.
Cameron Diaz, thank you.
And
Yes.
okay, so they bring out I mean, I'm sorry, but this is like if you heard, and there's people, and I won't mention their names here, but you know who they are, and they were like, how dare they?" And there was no winemaker attached to it. And those girls sold out of 5,000 cases just like that. And
Yeah.
why? Because they did some really smart marketing. It was all organic. They're bringing the wine in from Spain, and I know there's a lot of people that don't like it because it's mass production. So there's those people, right? And then there are the
Mhm.
people that, so gatekeeping at all different levels of the industry has
Yeah,
to stop.
it does.
It has to stop because influencers doing it are picking up and doing jobs and introducing consumers to wine. And
Mhm.
we need people to do that. We
Yeah.
need people who are, hey, maybe people are into, they're raising kids and they're doing a job, or maybe they're doing something that in their 20s. We need somebody who's going to be accessible and who's going
Mhm.
to bring people in and welcome them into wine and not talk about the mystery of wine. And I mean, and oh, the henny.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh no, it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, is there a place for people who are collectors? Absolutely. But
Yeah.
there's also a place for bringing people in and sharing that. And I think the journey I have been on personally in wine, I mean, I think the first time I had wine that kind of it was life-changing was when I was 18 and I went to Châteauneuf-du-Pape and I was studying the architecture in France, and I was there on an art history tour. And then somebody
Yeah.
took me to that 2,000-year-old cave and I got to taste it. And I was like, wow, this is not Hardy Burgundy anymore,
Yeah.
which is what I was used to drinking in Southern California in high school. But
Mhm.
so that was like the first time. And then over the years, it's gotten better and better and better. And I've been privileged enough to know people who are winemakers and have them as friends, and they've shared their stuff with me. And it's great. And I love all that. But so it's like it's about access, and it shouldn't be about
Mhm.
access. What it should be about is education.
Yeah.
We need to, but not in a way where you're talking about soil types and acid that nobody gives a shit about. I
Yeah.
mean, 5% of the people like that. And
Yeah.
people aren't going to drink your wine, newsflash, just because you wanna, like, talk about how delicious it is. You have to have
Yeah.
a differentiation. And so what to roll back to the influencers, they can help you because they have ideas, and they have ideas not just about wine, but the customer, because I think there's this misinformation, and I have met many people who I like, and they think that if we make really great wine, people are gonna come. Well, guess what? They're not showing up. So you have to, like, engage them, and these people can help you engage. I'm not sure if people just don't think that they're not good enough, or they're not formally trained, or they can't talk about aromatics. I am not sure what that is. Or in the case of back to Miss Diaz and Miss Powers, the Aveline, it's just not it's not as Tony as it should be, but I think
Yeah.
there's a place for everybody. I mean, you
Mhm.
just find it, and I know
Yeah.
what I like. I prefer organic wines. That's what I like. I prefer Rhones. That's what I like. But everybody doesn't have the same taste, and I think that people need to embrace that there's a great many consumers out there who would be helped by influencers, podcasters, and I've
Mhm.
actually dragged people into the world of wine with me. I'm like,
Yeah.
look at this stuff. It's fantastic. You need
Yeah.
to try it. So
Yeah.
so it's like that's those ambassadors that are keeping us going.
Mhm. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I mean, I think what you were what you were saying with influencers is that they're often not just talking about wine, they're talking about wine in the context of their lifestyle, and the people who are following them because of their lifestyle. If there's an influencer who is maybe a new mom and and they're on this wine journey and they're talking about it and they're like, hey, I have a young kid at home and here's how I also enjoy wine and know who I am myself, in addition to like being a new mom. That's really valuable for other new moms who maybe are kind of trying to find a thing to make their own. And then, and of the same ilk, there's influencers out there who are like child free by choice. And what does their lifestyle look like? Oh, they're traveling. And so they're going to naturally attract more travelers who have more disposable income and who are also child free by choice, that kind of. So it's to our benefit as wineries, as businesses, to talk to these people who are reaching those really, really specific niches of people and bring them into, and as you said, dragging people into the wine industry. I'm that way with my sister. I like basically force her. I'm like, here we go. Like, you're coming with me. We're gonna go do this wine tasting together,
Yeah, these are the
and it's
people I
fun.
these are the people these are the people I love. And
Yeah.
you need to meet them, and because there's a reason why I love them. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who make really good wine, and that's not the only reason why I take people to specific wineries.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that attitudinally, that broad thing, the reason why we're doing the referral program was a conversation I got into with Jasmine Egan, and we were out hiking one day, and she was talking about how at her winery, what they do is they have a policy where all industry professionals are treated VIP.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I was like, well, that's really interesting because I've
Mm-hmm.
been to wineries where I say I'm in the wine business and they're like, show me a business card. What do you do? And I'm like, okay, I mean, I run the wine symposium, or I
Yeah.
work for like 10 different winery clients. Which one would you like? I
Yeah.
mean, and it's very kind of, again, gatekeeping going
Mhm.
on. Whereas if you're welcomed in and you're treated like family, believe me when I tell you, the places that treat me well are top of my list. And
Mhm.
I know a lot of people who are into wine. And so when you think about it from a word of mouth perspective and how important those are, Jasmine was saying that they get people from wineries that they don't even know. They've never even been, you know,
Yeah.
but they're known as very welcoming. So I just think that more people need to think like that and sort of banding together. I mean, I think that that's really important because when you're an outsider, you're a visitor, you're a tourist. I mean, of course, you're going to ask if you like the person that's serving you wine, you're going to go, well, where do you like to go? Or what's your
Yeah.
favorite spot? Or
Mhm.
I've got my
Yep.
dog. What's really dog friendly?
Yes, yes.
You
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I used to get in trouble when I was working behind the bar because I would say yes to pretty much everybody who was like, "Hey, like, do you offer free tastings for industry folks?" I'd be like, "Yeah, totally, like let me see your business card because I want to know where you work." But like,
Mhm,
and I also have to like record it. But
mhm.
I would accept people from like hotels and from restaurants, whereas like typically in our rules, we were really only supposed to be saying yes to other wine industry professionals. But I was like, okay, if somebody's coming in from a hotel and they're maybe the concierge at that hotel, who are they going to recommend their guests visit? Us or the place that said that, oh no, sorry, we can't take care of you because you work for a hotel and not a winery? And yeah, the gatekeeping, it never makes sense to me. Just again, like a little side tangent is because I'm like, I feel like very few of us in the wine industry grew up drinking or started our wine journeys drinking really great wine. Like we all
Oh,
started
hell
with
no.
the boxed, the Franzia, the Beringer. So like the gatekeeping just doesn't make sense to me. Like I feel like maybe it's like people want to be a part of this like exclusive club. I'm like, throw your shoe. You're going to hit a good winery these days. Like everybody's making good wine. So like what's the thing that's going to make you stand out? Oh, it's your hospitality. That's what's going to make you different. So, okay.
It's
So
gonna
many
make
things.
but
Get fired
I
up
mean,
about it.
it's like what Maya Angelou said. It's like if you want people to remember you, make them feel something.
Yes,
Right? And so
exactly.
if you're going somewhere, make them feel welcome, be hospitable. I mean,
Hmm.
I think that that's just baseline. And if we can welcome each other, perhaps we can do a better job with customers and
Hmm.
trying to understand what those customers want, right? Because I think those customers don't all want the same thing. And I say this all the time, and I know it sounds weird, but I just don't think when you go out in people's tasting rooms and you look at those customers and just what are they wearing? What kind of jewelry do they have? And I mean, they could be up and down. We live in California where it's like people are wearing, they could be multimillionaires and be completely casually dressed.
Yeah.
So it's like, what kind of car are they driving? Why do they care about wine? How can you interest them? How can you pique that? And I think
Hmm.
that's a psychological thing. And if you're doing a good
Yeah.
job, that's what's important.
Yeah, yeah. I love the question of like why do they care about wine? So it's like why did they choose to go wine tasting versus doing anything else that they could have done on their like long weekend?
Mhm.
We just had Labor Day. So like why did people go wine tasting during Labor Day weekend when they could have gone camping or gone to a barbecue or like whatever? Why did they choose this thing? That's a really great question. I would love to dive into that a little bit more. In a
I
something.
mean, people have a lot to do. There's so many things to do in the world. So if you have live customers, maybe trying to figure them out a little bit is always
Mhm.
an interesting thing to do and to
Yeah.
welcome them there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. People like to talk about themselves. Ask them questions about themselves while they're there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they do.
Man. Okay, so I do want to ask a couple questions before we wrap up. First one is what would you say to small or mid-sized wineries who are unsure if the DTC Wine Symposium is for them? Like, what kind of ROI have you seen attendees walk away with?
I think there's 2 different things. I think that when we publish, it's always interesting when we publish all the show content and look and see what's for you because I don't know. The reason why people hire me in general, people don't hire me because things are going super, super well. People hire me
Right.
when they have problems.
Yeah.
And so look at the content in that manner. So if the content potentially will help you think about them, because I had a woman come up to me at a Women in Wine thing in Napa, and she said to me, "Oh, I come to the conference every year because it's my summer camp." And I was
Yeah.
like, and I thought that was really, it was very generous of her to say that. She's like, I always like, I always get a minute to think. I always have a moment where I can think about how to create my business or my marketing plan and sort of think bigger for the year ahead. And it kind of gets me in line. And so I think that that is a really great way of thinking about it.
Hmm.
I think the other thing is that I think many wine shows, not all, but most wine shows tend to be trade show first and education second. I
Yeah.
think we're very much an education first conference, and that's important because that's what's going to be the value of, leaving your business alone for a couple of days, coming to Monterey. It's
Hmm.
an expense, but it's an investment, I think, in your future. And to go with that for a minute, if you going with your future, you may not be able to hire a consultant. You may not be able to hire an agency. In some cases, you're going to be doing this work yourself, but investing in education in the future, the best thing about education when it's done right is it's not so much about the fact is that it teaches you to think.
Hmm.
It's like, so getting that headset about teaching you to think and then opening your mind about other things. So that's why I think people should attend the conference. And it's about the ideas that you will see there that you won't see anywhere else.
Yeah. Agreed. 100%. I have nothing to add to that. Okay, well, where can folks go to sign up for updates or register early? I know we're coming down to the wire here on our early bird pricing. And then do you have any tips for making the most out of the experience when they're there?
If I would say is we don't repeat any sessions. If you are a winery who is able to send at least 2 people,
Mm.
that's a good idea. So it's just because there's so much content there that it can be overwhelming, especially for a first-time visitor. Go to DTCWineSymposium.com and you will find the opportunity to register there. Go and sign up for emails and you will get those. We'll be announcing various and sundry activities, whether the aquarium event will be coming up at the end of September, which will be a limited ticketed event. Now, the Santa Lucia Highlands event is currently on sale as of yesterday. So when this comes out, it'll be a little bit longer. And then we'll be putting up the golf probably in October. But that's where I would go. We do a leadership series on LinkedIn. So go to LinkedIn. And we've been doing that for the show in terms of previewing some of the content as well as providing, hey, this is what's going on and this is what you need to be thinking about. So that's a good place too on LinkedIn.
Yeah, great. Awesome. I'm going to include all that information in the show notes, as well as a couple of links to my own recaps of the 2024 and 2025 symposium. So if you guys are curious about that and you want to just kind of see the conference from my own perspective as a marketing professional, check those out. And thank you so much, Barbara. It was so wonderful talking with you.
Yeah, it's fun. It's kind of funny how we just exchanged business cards a couple of years ago, but
I know.
it's been very nice, and I really appreciate your time and putting me on, and thank you very much. And I hope everybody comes and has a great time. And reach out to me at Undisclosed Location as well. That's my business if you're interested at all.
Awesome. Yes, I will include all of that in the show notes as well. So, friends, if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, especially right now. Again, the early bird pricing for DTC Wine Symposium is going to be ending at the very end of September. This should be released soon, so in the next few days. So you'll have a little bit more time. You'll have a couple of weeks of time to get your tickets and all of that in the early bird pricing. But yeah, so please share it with a friend, share it with anybody who you think should be going to this conference, anybody who you want to come to this conference with you. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And then, of course, if you haven't done so already, please rate and review the show wherever you listen. It really, really helps. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. Stay awesome. It's great talking with you, Barbara.
Thank you, Heather.